At face value, the question of what is the common good seems easy to answer. You can look up the definitions of common and good in a dictionary and move on with your life, right? However, as we tackle questions like this one, they become tougher questions to untangle, fostering conversation that advances us. I am a student. Up until college, there's always been a correct Scantron bubble to fill in, a definite answer to define my worth as a student. However, when faced with the unanswerable question, what defines you as a student? I had to face this question when I took a freshman seminar based on Johns Hopkins Common Question Program in fall 2020. Each year, the Johns Hopkins Common Question team, who I lovingly call CQ, throws out one huge question to the Hopkins community, curates a set of relevant sources, and provides spaces for conversation. But instead of investigating our one question through one singular source, we expand our aperture to include sources from the natural sciences, the social sciences, and humanistic and creative perspectives. AKA, the Hopkins CQ team throws out a question so big and so huge that even the faculty can't answer it with all their research and Google at their disposal, so they have to sit down with students and discuss it. So that's what we did. In the first meeting of my virtual semester, my professor, Dr. Liza Waters, who's in the audience today, and one of CQ's founders, threw out this huge question of what is the common good, that year's big question from CQ, to me and 10 other brand new freshmen. And then she promptly sent us into breakout rooms to try and answer it. Spoiler alert, we struggled a lot. We knew the definitions of common and good, but we failed to find an answer that worked for everyone. We started thinking, oh, the common good is the good for the majority. Then that spurred more questions about what is a majority? Is it by race, by gender, by nationality? What about the dolphins, for goodness sake? And usually, Hopkins freshmen were the ones coming into college who had all the answers in high school. So when faced with a question we couldn't answer, we left a little confused and frustrated. To ease this confusion and frustration, we spent the next 12 weeks discussing 20+ sources from CQ's list, including graduation speeches, paintings, and movies, to try and come at this huge question. These sources often covered issues related to the common good that hit close to home for us as students, including college admissions meritocracy and race relations. In these hard conversations, we often related our own personal experiences as points to provide insight. And in the process, we built trust because it felt like a safe space to share. This was literally the same group of people I spent a whole hour discussing what makes a chair a chair. Long story. Bringing together 11 freshmen from a variety of different academic, geographic, and racial background seemed like an unlikely candidate at the beginning of the virtual semester to build a close-knit community. But as we kept at these conversations and kept being open to our ideas being acknowledged and challenged, we did just that. When all 11 of us and Dr. Waters met in person for the first time in May 2021, it felt like greeting old friends instead of meeting strangers. Besides making some pretty awesome friends, we also started seeing connections form between the sources. For example, we saw similar themes of power across sources like Bong Joon-ho's Parasite, founding father James Madison's Fellows 10, and leading environmentalist Rachel Carson's The Sea Around Us. Seemingly disparate sources from the natural sciences, the social sciences, and the humanities started clicking together. Despite all these connections that we saw, we unfortunately did not find an answer to our earlier question of what is the common good. Because in defining a common and a good, no singular answer worked for every issue that we discussed in class. But that initial frustration we experienced in September was replaced with gratitude to simply be in conversation with each other by December. Even though we did leave with a few more questions and answers, we did learn a few things that I want to leave with our audience members today. Number one, tackling tough questions give you more than answers. In the process of tackling the question of what is the common good, we learned how to research, to discuss, and to disagree respectfully, all necessary skills for engaging in and out of the classroom. Number two, when tackling tough questions, do it through an interdisciplinary lens. In the process of tackling so many sources from a variety of different academic disciplines and macro and micro views, we gained a more well-rounded perspective of the question or issue at hand, and that in turn prompted more questions, more conversations, and more new understandings. And the third and most important thing that I want to leave with you guys today is that when tackling tough questions, you may not gain an answer, but you may gain understanding. There are often times in our own lives where we face really tough questions, whether that be academic or non-academic, that we want an answer to give us some closure, some finality. However, that doesn't always happen. What's the next best thing is an understanding, acknowledging and understanding all sides and perspectives of the issue or question at hand, and seeing how they fit together so you can decide how to best move forward. Now let's talk about what that meant for me, what that means for our students and general audience members as well. The tough question I posed earlier of what defined me as a student is something I still haven't firmly answered in my own life. But that's okay. My answer to that, my understanding to that is always changing as I tackle other tough questions. The question I'm currently trying to tackle right now is how to create a more inclusive world for those with disabilities, which I am driven to answer because of my experiences growing up with hearing loss. Coming into college, I thought that creating assistive technologies was the answer to this huge question of how to create a more inclusive world for those with disabilities. However, after taking Dr. Waters' seminar and thinking about this question a little bit more, I realized that even with all the technologies available, we still need community advocates and policymakers working in conjunction with scientists to get these technologies into the communities that need them the most. So now, I formally study neuroscience here at Hopkins, but I also immerse myself in social policy, public health, and history classes to inform my work as both a scientist in lab and an advocate in the community. And that's how I hope all students approach their studies in college and beyond. Going through the motions of academics isn't just about making the grade. It's understanding how what you're learning in and out of the classroom can help you answer the questions that you want to tackle. Climate change, long-term COVID implications, and mental health care are just some of the huge questions that students face now, will continue to face in the future because of past inequitable responses. As a result, it's so important to prepare students to be lifelong interdisciplinary questioners and conversationalists that foster understandings and responses that don't leave anyone behind. Now, some of our audience members may be wondering, hey, does this advice apply to me? I haven't been a student in about 30 years. And I'm telling you now that yes, you are a student. My current understanding to my earlier question of what defined me as a student is my constant interrogation and ideation of what the world could be. And our folks in the audience are probably doing that right now as well. Our folks may be pondering questions of, what am I going to learn today? How can I help my community? Does my work give me purpose or serve a common good? And those are all examples of questioning what the world could be. The methods of inquiry may look different. Some may be reading textbooks or working in a lab. Others may be building communities of knowledge or even learning something from the amazing TEDx talks you'll hear later today. But what remains essential through all of this is the process of collecting information from a variety of sources and perspectives so you can confidently transition from questioning to action. To conclude today, I want to leave you guys with one more huge question to think about as you go about your afternoon. This year's big question from the CQ team here at Hopkins is, what is progress? You'll hear many amazing talks trying to grapple with this question and ways we can work towards it. And after hearing all this, I invite and challenge you to try and answer it for yourself. Think about it in the context of your own life or your own community, and then think about ways you can work towards it individually, locally, and globally. You may not find an answer, and that can be really frustrating, I know. But in the process of trying to tackle even that one question that keeps you up late night, and just sitting in the uncertainty of questions, you open yourself to new discussion, to new viewpoints, and to new understanding that inspire the next questions, creating a culture of curiosity and generous understanding. Thank you.